Yeah.
Yeah.
And not everyone, though. Like, I know tons of sober strippers,
Yeah.
you know?
It's just this.
So complicated.
It's just this sex thing.
It's a sex thing. That's really, at the end of the day, what it is, because people, for some reason, can't get the fuck over that we have sex and that's even why we're here.
I know.
We only exist because of sex. And sex is so great.
Mm-hmm.
What's the fucking problem?
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder if there's like this kind of like trigger of like your sex drive that there's like you're watching a cute little movie and then all of a sudden you see a butt and then it's like, yeah, like overload on my sexual side. It's like the same thing about seeing a stripper. It's like, oh, she's a nice girl. And like, boom, sex. Maybe.
Yeah, but what I think that there's just so much shame around sex and that we've not been properly educated. Like, what were your sex education classes like in school? What did you learn in sex ed?
I learned don't do it until you're married. And then I asked my mom when I was like 16. I said, Mom, because I had a really hot boyfriend. And I was, getting a little horny off of him. And I said, Mom, did you have sex before you were married? And she started crying.
I'm sorry, Mom, that I'm laughing.
She started crying.
Why? What happened? Why did she cry?
She's crying. She goes, I made mistakes. And then goes off on this whole tangent about how her like high school sweetheart fucked her over because her family wasn't good enough. And I was just like, oh my God, great talk, Mom. Is this the birds and the bees or what? But yeah, I was so sexually unaware. And then I always think about this. I was a freshman in high school and kind of having a cute little fling with this senior. And we won the football state championship, and I went and I jumped on him and I straddled him.
Okay.
After the game.
Okay.
Like a little.
Yep.
Straddled him. And I'm like, yeah. Like we won, and I remember just like I didn't let him go. I was like a little monkey, and I came up, and my mom's just like tapping me on the shoulder, kind of looking at me like,
yeah,
Yeah. And I was like, what? We won the championship, man. and I was just that. I look back at things like that where, like, I remember Pour Some Sugar on Me was happening, and I'm, like, on the ground in my freaking prom dress, like, fucking twerking, like, rubbing my titties and, like, pouring my freaking sparkling water on my head.
Yeah.
And I was super sexual always. And not even sexual, sensual.
Okay.
Okay? Because there's a difference. I'm not always trying to bone everybody, but I am trying to, like, touch myself and do some body rolls in the mirror.
Right.
And wink at that hottie across the bar. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that I'm trying to boink everybody in town.
Right.
And that's kind of how I've always been. But it's always been read as like super intimidating or offensive. And when I was younger, I didn't even know that those were the messages that I was giving. Because nobody told me.
Well, not only that, it's nobody's been taught to receive the messages that you're sending.
Yeah.
It's not that you're sending the wrong message. It's that they're seeing one thing and interpreting it in the only way they've ever been taught. And that's why I'm asking what your sex education was like, because I know mine was like how to insert a tampon where my ovaries are and how to wear a pad.
Yeah.
And I wasn't taught about consent, how to verbalize consent, what to do if someone's violated my consensual terms.
Yeah.
Who to talk to, what to talk about, what types of questions to ask, what to do when a boy is pressuring me, any of those things. I was never taught any of those things. And for sure, boys aren't taught. When a girl says no, it means no, and you stop asking and you stop trying. Don't grab women or anyone without asking. Like, they are not taught those things.
Right.
Or not if a woman is wearing a short skirt, she is not sending you the message, come and fuck me and do whatever you want to me. She's just wearing a short skirt.
Right.
So you weren't sending the wrong message.
Yeah, of course not. I didn't know.
You were just being yourself.
I was just being myself.
Yes.
And then looking back on it, I'm like, damn, girl, you're a little hot hoochie mama.
You're just having a good time.
I was just having a great time.
You know? What about
Yeah.
these dudes that walk around with their shirt off and walk
I
around
know.
flexing?
You love that. Every time we go on
And
a hike, every time someone
I
like
give
is
them,
walking by with
I'm
their
the
shirt
emoji
off.
like this with the eyes. I think I've said this before on one of my shows, the flat-eyed emoji with the flat mouth.
She's like, why does he get to take his shirt off? Why can he have his nipples out? Can I just take my shirt off and walk around? They're just tits. They're just like fat sockets on my chest. Like, why does he have to do it? I don't. I'm like, you know what? I don't know. It's great.
You get slightly annoyed. It's fine. I think I actually, the longer it goes on and the older I get, the more offended I'm getting, and I really need to work on it. I see men's nipples out in the sun in the broad daylight, and I'm just like, I need to wash my eyes now. I feel so offended by your.
Because you're jealous.
Maybe it's because I'm jealous, but maybe it's also like it feels a little rapey. Like you don't have your clothes on. Like you're coming at me without your clothes on.
Are they coming at you?
No,
or are they
no,
walking by?
they're just doing their own thing.
I think they're just walking their dog actually, and it's sunny outside.
Okay, maybe because this one time a guy without his shirt on catcalled me,
Oh, okay.
and I was like, and I told him literally put a shirt on, put some clothes on. Yeah, so maybe so now it's like they all are like that old man on the porch.
You should have just
basically.
taken your shirt off and then started
Oh
catcalling
yeah,
him.
that totally would have worked out. He would have jumped over that
She'd be
fucking
like, "Oh, yeah?"
balcony. Yeah, right. I think it was cold outside. Maybe not. I don't know. He didn't have a shirt on, so maybe it wasn't cold. I don't know, but I'm not doing that. But yeah, my point is like, think of all the times we've been to like parties as young people, and there's like the dude who's like boisterous and loud and shirt off and running around, and like that's okay. But if you as a female is like, yeah, look at me, it's like, oh, she's a slut.
Sure, but I'm not really surrounded by people who would say, oh, she's a slut, because, you know, just for all you listeners out there, I am the person that's taking my shirt off at the party and running around and dancing.
Yeah.
And none of my friends, because I surround myself with strippers and stripper allies, would never.
Well, I'm talking more in like the general sense.
In the general sense,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and like what sort of happens and how we get labeled. Because as a young person, I was also very sexual amongst all of my friends. Like I lap danced nude for like 8 of my guy and girlfriends when I was 17 in a living room, very well lit living room, before I even knew that you're supposed to shave your ass crack, and got extremely nude. And I was like, that was great. It was like I was living. But anybody outside that group that kind of heard about that and caught wind of it, it was like,
I know.
Oh, Anne Marie is like,
I know. Being
Anne Marie's
a kid
next
is
level.
so rough.
Yeah.
It's just so rough.
Yeah.
Because now you don't give a shit about what other people's approval or opinions of you are. I mean, that's the thing. But when you're that age,
Yeah.
it's like, so how can we educate the freaking young teens?
It definitely starts with the youth. The youth need to be. I told Tammy this once. Tammy, my best friend in the whole world, who's listening to every single one of these episodes. I was like, it starts with the kids. We need to educate the kids.
Yeah.
And she's like, nah, fuck that, fuck kids. I'm like, no, like we have to teach the children. They're the next generation.
Yeah.
And I think that with millennials and whatever generation is after them, I think that they are a lot more woke. When I tell people now I'm a sex worker and a stripper, and they're a much younger generation, they're like, oh my God, goddess, what can I do to support you and help you?
That's true.
And I love the younger generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed a shift at all in the younger generation of how they speak to you or view you? Oh, that's right. I forgot. You dated a 20-year-old recently.
I was like, are you jabbing me at the fact that my ex-boyfriend is like 8 years older than me?
No, I totally forgot.
Like, did I talk about his?
No,
well, I mean,
forgot.
Yeah, I could consult with my.
But you know what's actually interesting is that you have actually encountered a younger generation that's not as woke. So maybe I'm generalizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was not a woke.
You're right.
Experience. I mean, that was an idea. I think this is what happens in general, whatever age, is they love the idea. I mean, in terms of dating, they love the idea of the fact that you're some just like wild,
sure,
or whatever,
sure,
yeah, whatever it is, a wild flower, and then that becomes scary.
Yeah.
But I think just the terms are changing, like terms of dating and what that means. I mean, we're still going off of this basis of like what a relationship and love is, off of how movies were made in the 50s and 60s and how our parents lived. And there's always this kind of like, woohoo. But now we're kind of like breaking that wall down. I mean, it's still culturally being broken down. And
Yeah.
that's a huge conversation to have.
Yeah. We don't need to necessarily.
And I could talk about all of these things.
Yeah. I know.
But
We could talk
I just,
for a long time.
we could talk
I know. So one of the things I really wanted to make sure we talk about is your stripper culture and how it enters into your music art.
Okay.
And something that really stood out recently was when you were at a performance and you put the microphone down and you started doing slutty stripper work on stage.
Totally.
And it was everyone's favorite part of your performance.
Okay, so I love the fact that I have a history of being a stripper. Because I just, so I make urban pop music. It's kind of like somewhat hip hop, somewhat pop.
Can you give us a little riff of a song right now?
Didn't sign up for no rescue, and didn't you come to my venue? I'm sorry that you've been mistaken and thinking that I would always be agreeable. Ayy, raise and shut my mouth like a southern lady. You can put me in a corner like no one's baby. I've been modest too long, so now I'm thinking about me when I'm fucking you. Yeah, ayy, about to start a wave. Toby, do me, hey, say it to my face. Tell me calm down, I'm sick of being soft. So that is, that's soft. But yeah, I had a show at the Moroccan and I wore this cute little leopard print dress and I put blue panties on underneath. And when my favorite musical moment came, I was twerking and doing some cool leg work. And yes, everybody loved it. And I feel that there are so many people that use dancers as the accessory. Rappers, every artist loves a freaking stripper in their music video. And I am just so stoked to be the video hoe for myself. Like there is nothing that gives me any greater joy than like not using someone else to be like, look at this object of hotness that's next to me while I can talk about it. But I'm like, no, I'm actually talking about myself.
Right.
Being that object or that hot, being the point, being that, like, bridging that gap. And all my songs are coming from a place of, like, being that object. Like, being that sassy woman that is the spotlight of attention. Because the stripper, is the accessory to the artist in a lot of circumstances.
Yes, I know.
But, like, the stripper is the freaking artist.
Yes.
I mean, in my case, that's what I love about the art that I'm trying to put out as a musician. But it's not just like I'm a musician. It's like I'm Fox and I make this music that accompanies my lifestyle, that accompanies me as a performer, and those things kind of go hand in hand.
Right. Yeah.
But I will say, to go back onto the conversation of like, I've definitely had a lot of marketing, branding meetings about how the pole is distracting from.
Oh, really? Like other people have said that?
Yeah, people in pitching certain songs, they're just like, wait, I don't get it. Is she a musician or is she a dancer?
Why can't you be both?
It's really hard for people to grasp the concept that you can be multiple things.
Right. Branding.
Yeah.
Well, you're not the only musician that's also a dancer.
For sure, but that goes back to that conversation. The moment that you put a pole in the frame, it reads as a certain context, because of course also, it wasn't until recently that people start using pole, but it automatically makes it this like gritty thing. I mean, outside of rapping, like rap music has always had like a big strip club culture,
right.
But now you have a lot of like rock bands, or I guess rock bands have done that too, but it definitely has this kind of like badass vibe.
Like hair band type rock bands have done that, like Guns N' Roses and Def Leppard and those types of guys, but not so much like what's another, like Mumford and Sons.
Yeah,
like
that would be pretty sick.
Yeah. So
no, they wouldn't.
Not so much like those guys.